Chair Garlick, Chair Lewis, and the esteemed members of the Joint Committee on Education. My name is Erin Stewart, and I run the School to Prison Pipeline Project at Citizens for Juvenile Justice. Today, I am testifying in support of H.454 and S.249, an act relative to ensuring equal access to education for all students. Stark disparities in treatment between students of color, students with disabilities, and students in other subgroups not only hamper and disrupt the education of these students, they also correspond to disparities we see in the juvenile and criminal justice systems. Students who are subjected to out-of-school discipline are twice as likely to be involved with law enforcement and the juvenile justice system during the period of their removal. Students who are suspended or expelled from school just once are much more likely to be disciplined similarly again, and they are twice as likely as their peers to drop out of school. Students dropping out of school are ultimately 3.5 times as likely to be incarcerated during their lifetime, compared to students who are not excluded from school. The lack of publicly available data on the intersection of the racial, ethnic, gender, disability, and English language learners' status identities of our students acts as a barrier to our collective ability to identify and effectively address these disparities and to drive improved outcomes for all students. This legislation will address that problem by directing the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to publish data that it already collects in a manner that is analyzed by student subgroups so that it is easier for educators, parents, students, communities, and policymakers to use it to improve outcomes for specific groups of students. While data is currently accessible by race, ethnicity, sex, English learner status, and disability, this bill takes the important step of making cross-variable data, which illuminates the performance of students who fall in multiple or overlapping categories, accessible. Not only will this data help policymakers and advocates, it will better inform and empower parents in making educational decisions that are best for their children. A parent who is considering the educational impact of moving from one town and school district to another should be able to easily access information on how children with similar identities to their own are treated in that district. This legislation does not require school districts or the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to collect any new data. Rather, it requires the publishing of already collected data for specific subgroups of students, thus reflecting the multifaceted identities of Massachusetts' students. At Citizens for Juvenile Justice, it is part of my job to request data in this type of cross-tabulated form from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and share it through our website to provide the type of information reflecting the treatment of children with multiple overlapping identities that parents, students, and teachers deserve. But it should not fall on attorneys or nonprofit organizations to do this. Our state agencies should be charged with publishing this important and crucial information that is needed for parents and students to properly evaluate whether school districts are treating students in a truly equitable fashion. It is for these reasons that we respectfully urge you report H.454 and S.249 favorably.